Welcome back to Silent Screams. If you're listening to this, you're ready to dive into a tale that will leave you questioning every creak, every shadow, and every noise that fills your empty home. Let's set the scene. Picture yourself alone, sitting in the comfort of your living room. The quiet hum of your refrigerator, the only sound breaking the silence. You think it's safe. You think you're alone. But in the stillness, something stirs. It had started as an ordinary evening. You were home alone, something you had become accustomed to over the years. The house was quiet, the world outside was muffled by the thick walls, and everything felt as it should. The door was locked, the windows shut tight. But you knew, deep down, something wasn't right. You couldn't explain it, but the feeling lingered. It was almost as if the house itself was alive, watching, listening, waiting. At first, you dismissed it as nothing more than an overactive imagination, fueled by the silence of an empty house. But then, the noises started. It was subtle at first, a low thud from upstairs. You paused, holding your breath. Nothing. Maybe it was just the house settling, you told yourself. But as the minutes passed, the sounds became clearer, louder, more deliberate. A soft scratching sound from the attic, followed by what could only be described as faint footsteps on the floor above you. Your heart began to race. You stood up, the floorboards creaking under your weight, and made your way to the stairs. The air felt heavy, thick with something you couldn't place. Your hand rested on the railing, but the touch felt wrong, as though it wasn't meant to be there. Every step you took felt like it echoed through the house, the sound unnaturally loud, as if the walls were amplifying your every movement. When you reached the top of the stairs, you saw nothing. The hallway was dark, the only light coming from the faint glow of the living room behind you. You called out, trying to convince yourself that maybe it was just the wind, or an animal outside, or anything. But silence was your only response. You took a few steps forward, each one more hesitant than the last. Then, out of the corner of your eye, you saw it. A shadow. No, not just a shadow. A figure. It was fleeting, like a glimpse of something just out of reach. You whipped your head toward it, but it was gone. Your breath caught in your throat. It wasn't possible. You were alone, weren't you? You turned to leave, but the scratching sound returned, louder this time, as if something or someone was trying to get your attention. Your pulse quickened. You backed away slowly, your eyes darting to every corner of the dark hallway. A door creaked open behind you. You spun around, but again, there was nothing there. The door had opened on its own, and you couldn't remember leaving it unlocked. You froze, your eyes locked on the darkened doorway. It stood there, wide open, beckoning you with an unnatural force. But you couldn't move. Your body refused to obey. You had to leave. You had to get out of the house. But as you turned to make your way back down the stairs, the temperature in the air shifted. It felt colder, like the very breath of the house had turned to ice. The faint sound of a whisper filled the room. It was low at first, a soft murmur you almost thought was your imagination. But then it grew louder, clearer. The voice, strained and almost pleading, echoed through the house. "Help me, please." Your breath caught in your chest. The voice came from the attic. You couldn't see it, but you felt it. The cold breath against the back of your neck. Your heart pounded in your ears as you forced yourself to move, inching toward the stairs again. And then the footsteps started. The unmistakable sound of heavy, slow footsteps from above. Not the kind you'd hear from the house settling. Not the kind of movement that belonged to a house left alone. These were deliberate. These were heavy, like something, or someone, was walking toward you. You didn't stop to think. You ran. Down the stairs, through the hallway, your legs moving faster than you'd ever thought possible. The front door was just ahead, just a few steps away. But when you reached for the handle, the door didn't budge. It was locked from the outside. Your stomach dropped. You knew it wasn't locked when you entered. You checked. Your mind raced, searching for an explanation. The windows. You could break a window. You could... The whisper came again, louder this time. The voice was unmistakable. Leave. Now. You shouldn't be here. You spun around, heart pounding, but no one was in sight. The house felt like it was closing in around you, the walls pressing in on you with every breath. You backed away from the door, and that's when you saw it. At the far end of the hallway, in the dark shadows, stood a figure. It wasn't human, at least not anymore. The figure was too tall, too thin, its limbs unnaturally